Hello everyone, welcome to Voices of the Arena number 2. Today will be a special episode. We have the first Whispers of the Arena, which will be a more laid back version of the normal episode. With me today I have Mr. ZSX. How are you today then? You can open the stream if you want to see me, or just have a picture of me. Do it. Who is muted? Okay, hold on. Why is he muted? Okay, try speaking now.
Test 1, 2, 3.
Now it works. I
So
wonder
you were
why.
just giving me 10 minutes of spiel about how good you are at production.
No, this is the first time I do production. This is the first time I do production. I literally tested it 15 minutes ago. Everything was working, but of course, as I went live, stuff stops working. Thanks, guys. If chat doesn't say it, I wouldn't have noticed. In the first one that I did with the Series and Celts, I was muted for like the first 5 minutes until someone said something. So today we're just going to be, talking about... this is like the second episode of like Voices of the Arena. The first one, as you guys know, we do like the stream recap, like the tournament recap. And then I also do one before every tournament just to pre-hype the tournament. But this one, in the middle of the month, I'm going to have various guests. We're just going to be talking about, some funny LAN stories, random perspectives from people we know nothing about, like ZSX. Thoughts about what's going on in the Quake scene, etc. But before, I wanted to say if we could introduce ZSX a little bit, because like you have like the weirdest out of everyone I know. You have like the most overqualified curriculum, or the weirdest curriculum that I've ever seen. You started like as a rugby player or something, right? You went professional in rugby. Did you start playing Quake before or after?
No, before. I was playing Quake my whole life since probably Quake 1. I can't really remember for Quake 1, but definitely Quake 2. And then started to really enjoy it in Quake 3, and mainly just did Rocket. My God, my brain. Rocket Arena. And then when I stopped playing rugby, when I got injured, that's when I started playing Quake, I guess, professionally, because I actually had time at that point. I was in Dignitas whilst I was playing professionally, but I had to often miss a lot of LANs because I would be either playing games or on tour or something like that. So I was never really able to commit any time to it. So yeah, it was kind of symbiotic.
Did you skip Quake 4?
Yeah, Quake 4 was trash.
I never really played any Quake besides Quake Live, so I don't know how good Quake 4 was.
Yeah, I remember practicing with you when you first were really, really young. Always spamming people for practice.
That was so long ago, man. I was really good when I was really young, and then I just stopped practicing.
That's the thing when you get old, right? Can't play anymore.
Yeah. And the thing about you is like you were... I'm not sure if I would call you like depends on the definition of pro, but I would still say you went pro in Quake Live, right? Because you played for Dignitas, you attended a lot of LANs. You even got was it the top 3 or a top 4 in a TDM LAN?
I think it was top 3, but I can't remember yet. DreamHack 2013. I mean, it depends how you define pro, right? Like,
yeah,
I guess you would say it was pro, but it wasn't. I wasn't the same caliber as the people who were winning the tournaments. I guess my only real claim to fame is that I think every time I actually got knocked out of a dual tournament, it was by the person who won it, either
nice.
Rafa or Cypher. That was what happened. We were a low seed, but
yeah.
But at least I can claim that.
And you had really good aim. I mean, you still do. Because like when people watch QPL, I don't think they know the history of like all the casters. Most of the casters are pretty like sort of new to the game. But I always see comments in like Reddit and in chat. It's like, oh, we should do like a caster duel tournament. And it's for people that know how you played. It's always a bit stupid to see those comments, because when I compare you to the others, I compare you like, I wouldn't say honestly you're same skill as I am. If we play Quake Live Duel right now, best of 3, it's a 50-50. You'll win some, I'll win some. Even in Quake Champions, it will probably be a 50-50, even though you don't really play Quake Champions. So you're like a level above all of the other casters.
Yeah, I just used to get very angry when I played.
Yeah.
So I didn't have the discipline that I needed to make it any further than I did. That was the most taxing thing. I actually felt the game was really easy. Reading the game, the strategy of the game, the aim of the game was really easy. The mental side of the game that's the one part that I could never actually cope with.
Yeah, I get it. I remember you were like kind of like Ethan, from Kick. Whenever you got
Oh
fragged,
god, yeah.
well played.
Yeah, that's a throwback. One
'Cause
frag and it's over.
that's how I remember you from playing in Kick in TDM.
Yeah.
Those were fun days.
I love TDM, I love CTF, but I never had the time. So even the DreamHack that we came third in, we didn't even practice. We just turned up and managed to get really, really far.
What
And
was
we
your
knocked
team
out
there?
me, Garpy, Gerpa, and Raven, I think.
Might be. I mean, this sounds like an interesting team.
I'm pretty sure it was. I know I played with Raven at one point, but I can't remember if he was in that team. It's definitely me, Garpy, and Gerpa.
Oh, actually,
I'm
I think
90%.
I'm gonna check.
I think it was Draven as well.
Oh, to check. There we go. As player, is it showing up? Yeah. As player, you played. It was Dignitas. Team Dignitas. It was Draven, Garpy, and Garpy.
Yeah. And we got knocked out by Avec.
And there's so many incredible teams here. It was a time like when everyone was playing. Like there's serious gaming with Avec and Silence App, and then Toxic, Wins, Lincoln, Starmy. And even this action team, the action team was really good with Blaine, Gizmo, Night Ops, etc. 4K as well.
Yeah, we only just lost that action team actually, for that was the fourth place playoff. I remember now.
That was so cool.
We beat 4 Kings, I think, in the groups. That was how we got so far.
Yeah, you went 3-0 in the groups actually.
Yeah.
Nice. It's a throwback. When was it? 2011.
Oh wow, I thought it was 2013. Jesus, that is a throwback.
It's so long ago. We are so old.
Look at that prize pool. $780 for third place.
Man.
4 ways.
Okay, look, Quake Live days were really rough for us, right? Because if you didn't win the tournament, you make nothing.
You make a net loss going to the event.
Yeah, like even if you went to QuakeCon, if you get third or fourth place, you already get nothing. Because QuakeCons were like 15k prize pool is like 9k first place, 5k second place, and then third place was like 500, 1k. The flights were 2k. It wasn't great. And after
good days,
after when Cake Champions came about, he obviously went into more of a casting role, as I should have done as well. His casting seemed to pay pretty well in the early days of Quake. What are your thoughts about like QPL not continuing right now?
It's sad, definitely sad. It's the last bastion that was Quake, but I guess we can understand why it's not continuing. I think what's really sad about it is the way it existed meant that no other community tournaments could really thrive whilst it was around, and so the whole scene was really built around the QPL. So when you remove that, the scene goes with it. And that's kind of the sad part, I guess, is that it swallowed the community side that was keeping Quake alive for so long. If there was a hybrid version, that would have been better. So it's definitely sad. I don't even know where Quake goes from here, if I'm honest now.
We don't know where Quake goes, but we might know where Doom goes. Because there's been rumors, at least. Like 6 months ago, there started rumors of like Quake 6 appearing, but now we're getting rumors that a new Doom is coming out called Dark Ages. Have you ever played Doom? Do you have any experience with Doom?
Not really, because I think it was, at least when I remember, it was very single player heavy, and I've never really enjoyed single player games, particularly FPS. So I always kind of respected it, and I played the early Dooms when I was young, but at least from when I was a kid, I haven't touched Doom. Not even Doom Eternal. I didn't play it after the beta.
I've never played Doom in my life, to be honest. I have Doom Eternal on Steam, and I plan to do a playthrough on stream someday, but we'll see when it is. For me, Doom is like Quake single player, and the multiplayer of Doom is Quake, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So I've only ever stuck to Quake when it comes to to that genre. I never was interested in single player FPS.
Same. So do you think there's any chance for this Doom to be any type of multiplayer?
I mean, technically, but I don't know why. If you wanted to revitalize multiplayer, you would create a new Quake, not a new Doom, I would assume.
Yeah, but this Quake is still
But
getting updates sometimes.
true. It depends. I think it depends what the strategy of the game is. You don't even need to make games multiplayer nowadays to keep them alive and to monetize them. So I would say it's unlikely they're making a multiplayer focused Doom.
Sadly, maybe the chat knows something more that we don't. But I that's all I saw in the rumors. It was that a new Doom is coming out called Dark Ages, and that's it. And since I don't really have much of familiarity with Doom, maybe someone knows more.
Doom has a lot more legacy to it, so it's more likely to build on the lore, right? I would assume, which means it's more likely to be single player. I don't. I'll have to see.
What about the QuakeCon announcement? Did you see that?
No.
Well, apparently there wasn't much to see anyway. They just announced the date of QuakeCon, and that's it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they announced the date of QuakeCon, but no real, substance to it. They announced that they're going to be selling seats, and that's it.
Yeah, I knew QuakeCon was obviously still going to go ahead. There was some rumors that there might be a tournament as part of it still. I think that's what they want to keep.
Getting a bit late to announce it though, right? Because a lot of players need visas.
Yeah, but it's not going to be like an international tournament, I guess. It might just even be a local tournament.
Yeah, but the BYSC tournaments, I guess the competitive players won't really care about those unless they're already in NA.
True. Yeah, I forgot it's already nearly June. Jesus.
Yeah, it's like, it's June next month.
Yeah, I keep thinking it's like March still.
Yeah, that's why you almost missed this.
It is literally why I almost missed this. I thought, oh my god, my time is all off.
QuakeCon for me, it's always been like, after going there, I realized it's not really like the Quake. For me, QuakeCon has always been like the big Quake tournament, right? But for everyone that attends it, I'd say for like 95 to 98% of the people that attend QuakeCon, they don't really care about the tournament. They go there for like the BYOC, for the event, for the con itself, right? You've been to a few of them. I don't know if your experience is different than mine.
No, it's definitely. I think that's the point. I think QuakeCon is more about just, it's like the old school DreamHacks, I would say. People go to meet up and have a good time for a few weeks. It's about the BYOC. The esports side of it is just I think it's always been an important part, but it's definitely not the focus, which I think is still nice.
Yeah, I mean, as a competitive player, it doesn't do much for me if there's like no esports there, but I get it. When I went there, I think 10 years ago now, in 2014, it was still in the Anatole. Like I saw such a big line, like almost 1,000 people lining up for the BYOC, and I was like, oh, I gotta check that out. But the day I tried to go in, there were still so many people in line, and it actually smelled like sweat just trying to go in. I did not have the courage to go inside.
Yeah. No, it's the same with old school DreamHacks, but that's where esports really started. So I think it's really important we don't lose that part of the community, and it's nice that at least QuakeCon is one of those that keeps it alive.
And I see you're rocking OG Esports merch there. I was talking about to you about like you becoming a caster and all that. And what else have you done besides being a caster? Because you've been in Red Bull, you've been in Tencent, you're now in OG. How does that go? Because a lot of those jobs that you have seem like dream jobs for one person, but you're racking them up.
I got lucky, I guess. But I guess because we started in esports so early, it never seemed like there was going to be a career in esports. I think my first tournament was 2007, and that was, ghetto at that time. So I went into consulting for a little bit, but then realized I didn't like it at all. I managed just to stick in esports. So I spent some time with Dignitas, kind of messed around doing some of the casting, messed around doing some Faceit stuff, and then eventually got a job at Red Bull. Like that was when did I join Red Bull? 2016.
April 2016. I'm watching.
Yeah,
I'm seeing your LinkedIn right
yeah.
now. Head of Esports in Gaming Marketing
Yeah.
UK.
For the UK team, yeah. I mean, even before that, I was doing other jobs. I was a lecturer and kind of doing personal training. And as I said, there were some side jobs going on. But then the Red Bull one, I got pretty lucky. It was the first time they were opening any sort of role outside of their global team. So my job was to, anything you saw about Red Bull in at least in the UK, and then eventually in kind of wider EMEA, that was done through me and my team. Then
Because you guys had the gaming sphere as well there, right?
Yeah.
How many tournaments
Yeah.
have you guys hosted there?
hundreds.
Wow.
That was a project that the global team gave to me. So that now I think there's 6 of them globally, and basically it was meant to be like a community studio. So we'd run regular weekly activities, but then it was also a kind of secondary content and production space. We run a mixture of obviously live streams, content, everything up to even tier 1. We ran a tier 1 Valorant tournament in there once. We ran the World of Warcraft stuff, the Race to World First. That was all us as well from the gaming sphere. Yeah. So that was a huge project because it was basically a 24/7 venue. It feels like a long time ago now, actually.
It's 3 years ago. I guess it is.
Yeah, no. And then after that was that's when I went to Tencent. So I was doing all of their global marketing for esports products. So that was Arena of Valor, PUBG Mobile. They were the 2 main ones. We were looking at Honor of Kings as well, but that never happened. That was completely new because obviously working for a Chinese company in a predominantly Asian market.
Tencent is like the company that owns like Riot and
everything.
Stuff. Yeah, like
they own everything.
For me, like that you were already head of esports in Red Bull was already like peak, and then you went and did the senior global marketing for like the company that owns everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. And now you're CCO of OG Esports.
Yes.
That's insane.
This is the dream job for me. I mean, I worked with OG when I was at Red Bull for a couple of years. I helped sign them as well. So I had a very strong connection to who they are and their values. And I've always been, outside of Quake, actually Dota was my favorite game. So it was, I was really lucky to actually get this job. And be on the organizational side. I've obviously been on the brand side, the sponsor side from Luckbox, and now working on the organization side is very, very different because you get to work with players, you actually get to build the team. It gives you a completely different perspective.
Yeah, OG are one of the biggest esports teams in the world. I think when it comes to like prize money earned, they're probably still number 1, thanks to their international wins. Which is insane how much money Dota has. Because like if you look at a few years ago, Dota didn't even have like major tournaments except the international, and they were still the biggest game because of that.
I think Team Liquid have now just passed us on prize money earned. We're on like 33 million. I think they're on 36 if I remember rightly. I can't remember, but we were number 1 for a long, long time. Dota is crazy. Like you don't even get a major event. Teams go into a major event without at least 500k, if not 1 million. And I think next year there's over 20 tier 1 lands. Like it's going to be, or at least tier 1 tournaments. Sorry. Yeah.
Like
the calendar is so packed. It's ridiculous.
Like 1 LAN every 3 weeks.
Yeah,
that's
like
insane.
We've had to decline. We've declined two tier 1 lands recently because we don't have enough time.
That's insane. Imagine if 1% of that ever existing in Quake, we would be rich.
I mean, there's always the chance that Quake goes into the World Cup.
Oh, the Riyadh World Cup,
yeah.
The Esports World Cup. I actually have this open as well. Where is it? Yeah, this Esports World Cup thing. There's so many games here, and I don't even know half of them. And a lot of them seem to be like, what's it called? I mean, the OG is here. I can see it on the
one of the teams involved.
Glove support program. Very cool. I see here games.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many. It's like 12
Overwatch 2, PUBG Mobile, and then PUBG. Yeah. Wait, PUBG Mobile has bigger prize pool than actual PUBG.
Yeah, it's a bigger game.
Yeah, that's so weird to me, man. That is so weird. Then Rainbow Six Siege, Rocket League, StarCraft 2. If StarCraft 2 is here, why isn't Quake here?
Because we're the wrong publisher.
Teamfight. I play Teamfight Tactics when I go to the bathroom on my phone, and it's here. Street Fighter 6. What is this? I can't even read what this is.
Is it MLBB? No, that's women's. What women's one is that?
Oh wait, the site just crashed. Oh. But I don't know. I can't read what game it is.
I don't know.
It's so hard to read. Mobile something.
MLBB, I think. Which is Mobile Legends. Bang bang.
Oh, okay. And then can't read what this one is either. But 3 millions as well. League of Legends, Honor of Kings. I don't know this one. I'm gonna assume it's a mobile game.
It's the Chinese version of League of Legends mobile. Yeah.
Of course. Free Fire. I've heard of this one. This is a mobile game for sure. And
yeah,
Fortnite.
That's like, yeah, it's kind of like PUBG.
What is this? It just says ESL.
That's their own game. I think it's the racing game.
Oh. And FIFA, or the new name of FIFA.
Yeah.
Dota
AFC.
2, of course.
There
With
we
a
are.
lot of qualifiers. 485 million. Tekken 8. Apex. CS2. Okay, there's probably a lot more games in Quake. It would be amazing to get Quake in something like this. Even if it's the lowest price pool here, because like the lowest price pool that I see is 500k. Even 10% of that would be insane for Quake right now.
And that's just the prize pool. Like you get a lot of secondary revenue from the format through different deliverables per game as well. And they also pay the organizations to have rosters in each one of the games.
Wow.
That's why you see so many teams picking up rosters.
Like you've been on the esports, like this side of like the background side of things for a while. If you were Quake Esports manager, like 5 years ago or 6 years ago, how would you have done things? Because I think the QPL was a cool starting point, but I kind of expected it to change or develop more as the years went on.
It's really hard because they can only work with what they've got in terms of audience and in terms of what's the budgets internally. I think what's really nice, I would have tried to establish more licensing deals with key TOs like the Blast of the world, even trying to get more communities going, because then it's almost like a self-supporting ecosystem rather than centralizing it and funding it through Bethesda. They could have brought in other operators to run it. Even if they just kept it in things like IEM, if they managed to keep it alive like that, even StarCraft's still there. That would have been probably my preference, and then using the budget to bring in external orgs and more investment rather than just running their own tournaments. That's probably the only difference in strategy I would have looked at. Otherwise, you have to remember that running an esport is kind of 1% of the whole game. So you have to build the game and you have to market the game better. And that's what we were looking at Tencent, is how could we use esports as a wider pillar of what we're doing within the acquisition side of the game. And that's what hasn't existed in Quake pretty much forever, is any sort of above the line acquisition strategy to get more players into the game.
This is why I wanted to ask you this question, because I knew you're going to have a very different answer to anyone else in Quake because they don't have the same experience. Like if I ask this to any player, they would say, oh, they should have like done a different game, changed the game mode, or like these kind of things. But you go into like the marketing and business side of it, and you give a pretty smart answer. It almost makes me forget that I know you're not that smart.
I'm good with words.
Yes, very good with words. What else? See, I went on the rant and now I forgot what I was going to ask next. But I like the answer a lot. Speaking of, AFPSs and all, you were talking about like how to get new players in. Do you think there's any few particular reasons why AFPS does so poorly in terms of game design?
The only two that I can think of is the ones I think everyone knows. One is accessibility. It just takes so long to get into a game like Quake. All of the mechanics are very foreign. You can play CS for many years and jump into Valorant, and it's going to be different, but it's still going to feel the same. And the same for all other genres is that they share mechanics in some way, shape, or form. Whereas in Quake, you're going in and even the movement is different, which makes it even more difficult to just swap from one game to another game. And then the learning curve is incredibly high. And I think the secondary point is because it's always been largely duel based. I think team modes are often preferred in modern gaming. Even things like Fortnite is largely team based. And I think the last point that I was thinking about is, at least when I was growing up, I think the way in which the community kept itself alive has got lost. What I mean by that is you log in and you click play in and you queue for ranked and you play your ranked and you leave. Like when I was playing in Quake Live, or Quake 3, you'd sit on a server for loads of time. You'd actually get to meet the other people who were playing it. You'd sit there for hours talking to the same people.
Yeah, continuous lobbies are a great way to
exactly play.
build community.
Exactly. You play with the same people and you learn from them because you get to talk. That's really lost in modern engines where you just go for this kind of quick fix.
I agree.
I think that's actually really big.
I think Eric kind of wanted to do that, but I don't think it was possible with the Saber engine. Because he knows it's just a really good way of creating community. Because every server becomes its own ecosystem, its own little community of people that go in every day, and that's how you get casuals in the game. So people just go there every day at X hours to find X players. People even in Quake Live right now, you can go into a Clan Arena server. You're not going to play because there's a massive queue. You're going to be in queue for 3 hours, but you're going to be talking to people for 3 hours.
There's people that go there just to talk. And that's lost because, when you go into a new game, it's actually really hard to find the resources you need to meet people or to learn about the game, whereas the servers were those resources for a lot of people. You just go in and sit there and watch. So that was I think that's actually a really big thing that got lost.
I agree. And it's even more important when you think about making connections and making friends. Because if you only find people, you're only going to meet them during that game and possibly never again if the game is big enough. It kind of breeds more toxicity, right? Because there's no accountability.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to meet the same people anymore. And in continuous lobbies type things, I think it's easier to do that. There was an idea to do something like that. I think it was maybe in Diabolical, where Too Good wanted to have a massive, multiplayer hub. Basically a map where you could talk to people, go on little shops, and there would be everyone just running around. And then if you wanted to watch a tournament, they could use their little egg bots to watch them. I don't know if the Diabolical, I don't think it's in development anymore, but I heard there is a game coming out soon. I don't know how soon. From Too Good Team. Yeah. I don't know what kind of game it's going to be, but it would be good if it was another Arena FPS.
Diabolical. I like Diabolical, so I hope he does create another FPS.
Yeah, we'll have to see. My biggest gripe with AFPS or AFPS devs is that every single FPS has been literally the same.
Yeah, I mean, is Quake Champions the same, do you think?
Quake Champions had the biggest potential to be different, I think. When I heard they were going to be champions on it, I was upset for 5 minutes, but then, oh wait, maybe they have something going on. But then when I played, I realized, they didn't actually go all the way with different classes and stuff, and it was just movement and ability. So it ended up not being that different.
What can you change beyond what already exists? Just taking the class element even further?
Yeah, like TF2 or Overwatch. People don't like calling TF2 or Overwatch AFPS, but for me they are, the evolution, sort of. Not evolution per se, but I think that's the natural process of things. Because Team Fortress 2, if you take all of the champions in Team Fortress 2 and make only one champions, but with a weapon of all of them, suddenly you have Quake. Because it's just all the weapons in one.
What's the need for something like that when they exist? Like Overwatch.
The weapons, for instance, you don't have LG in any other game. You don't really have. You have versions of Rail, you have versions of rockets, weapons like LG or Plasma. You don't really have. For me, the weapons are the biggest thing of FPS because it's the most fun thing.
Overwatch, Zarya has an LG.
Oh please, Zarya is a tank, man. The biggest LG you have in Overwatch would be Symmetra or something.
Oh, Symmetra. Oh.
Apparently, chat is saying that Too Good is making a Dota clone.
Really?
Okay, that's interesting.
I'll have to reach out to him.
I've never played Dota. I think I have maybe 10 hours in Dota. For me, Dota, it's a mystery that Dota is actually popular. Okay, because when you look at Dota, the game looks dark gray and dark green, and you don't understand anything of what's going on. If you try to play it, you become even more confused. For me, it's the same thing as in an AFPS, in the sense of it's super overwhelming at the start, and it has a really, really big learning curve. So how the hell did Dota get popular?
Longevity. And I guess just huge peak moments that bring in more and more audience. I think people that get bought into the storyline through watching something like TI, even though they don't know what's going on, they're just so amazed by it, then they stick around. That's how a lot of the new audience came in. And there's a huge percentage of Dota audience that actually don't play, they just watch.
Mm-hmm.
I think that doesn't
and
exist.
Contribute to the prize pools.
Yeah, contribute to the prize pools. And then for me, I think when you do get to learn a little bit about Dota, it's the best game to watch, I think. It's got such depth to it.
Yeah, when it comes to depth, it seems insane because like I've played quite a bit of League of Legends, and it's very easy to learn League of Legends.
Yeah.
Because like the tutorial is like 200 hours long until you can unlock ranked. It's very easy on the eyes.
You prefer the graphical style of League of Legends?
Because I can actually understand what's going on. Yes, that's it.
Oh, I hate this graphic. Yeah.
Because okay, look, the only thing I like more is that there's outlines, right? With outlines, I can actually understand what's going on.
Sure.
With Dota,
No,
I don't understand anything.
Yeah. No, I completely get it, and I can see it's a complete mess to watch, but I prefer the art style.
For me, it's the difference between playing like between CS and Valorant, or like Call of Duty or Fortnite. If I play Call of Duty, I don't know what I'm looking at half the time because there's like no outlines and people are like hiding in bushes. In CS, sometimes people go through you, and since there's like no outlines, they just keep walking and you don't even realize. In a game like Valorant or Fortnite, there are really big outlines. Everything is a little bit more animated. There's a lot more color variance. So I get why those games keep getting new players. But with Dota, for me, I don't really understand. I really don't get it because the game is phenomenal once you understand what's going on. But until then, it just seems so overwhelming. Maybe it's because it's a team game as well. That might help a bit.
No, it is definitely overwhelming. So I do sympathize. I remember just literally like the way I said it, people got introduced to it. I think I remember watching it TI2, which was, I'm guessing 2012 time, maybe 2000, yeah, around that time. I just watched the finals and then didn't understand what was going on, but was fascinated by it. So just kept watching streams of it, watching events of it, and then got to learn it over time. But yeah, it was super, super confusing. I barely play it either.
How many hours do you have in Dota?
Oh, quite a lot, but most of it is just sitting around or playing in kind of arcade games, not actually playing proper Dota.
Because like if I look at other players, like Cypher probably has more hours in Dota than he has in Quake.
Yeah, let me check actually. The notes team. It's going to be thousands of hours, but I don't know how many are just sitting in the game versus playing the game.
I mean, if you go by your Steam hours, you probably have more Steam hours in Football Manager than anything else.
That's true, yeah. But again, just sitting in it, not playing.
Yeah. But like, honestly, I don't know how I even like Football Manager. I love football. I watch football every day, but Football Manager, there's such a weird complexity to it that it's just insane. Because even to configure it, stuff to make it easy for you, it just takes so long.
Yeah, it just helps me switch off sometimes those type of games because it's mindless. So I have, what's Dota? It's updating. 4,400 hours in Dota.
4,400. How many hours do you have in Quake Champions?
3,000. Quake Champions?
Yes.
500. And I have 3,400 on this account in Quake Live.
How do you have double my hours in Quake Live?
Because I just leave it open a lot.
That is true.
And I started way before you.
Yeah, but we were playing in outside of Steam, right? We didn't switch to Steam until like 2014 or something.
Yeah, that's true. No, it's because I leave it open a lot.
Because if I look at all my Quake Live hours, I probably have like 8,000 Quake Live hours or 10,000. Yeah. I probably have 6,000 just in casting alone. Because back in those days, there was a lot of
you were casting a lot of Quake Live, yeah.
Yeah, it was just like almost every day. Like 3-4 hours we do it almost every day, 5 days a week, 5 hours a day, 3-5. And we had a lot of viewers as well.
I miss casting Quake Live. It was so good.
Speaking of casting Quake Live, I have a little video of us playing Quake Live together. Do you remember it?
We've played a lot, so I don't.
2v2.
I don't know which. I was storytelling actually.
This is for everyone to feel like, since there's a lot of 2v2 in Quake Champions. Oh, right before that, what do you think of 2v2 in Quake Champions? You've played TDM in Quake Live, and it's pretty high depth, because like the weapon balance, especially in Quake Live, makes it so that you can't just rush people and get kills. What do you think of 2v2 in Quake Champions?
I think 2v2 Quake Champions is actually pretty good. It suits the way the game is built because it's fast, it's high tempo. It makes a good use of both abilities and a bit of strategy around the items. So I haven't played it. I played a few practices a couple of years ago, but I haven't played it recently. But I enjoy watching it.
Have you watched much of the KeenCon?
No, not recently. I've been too busy.
There's not much to watch. It's just Sirius and Celts so far winning all of the KeenCon tournaments. They did lose the last Estonia 2v2, which was last week or the week before, to Rafa and Maxter. So that was a bit of a change. But it's just been Sirius and Celts winning.
I try and hit a stream every time I see some of the Quake guys live. So I've seen it now and again, but not like what's been happening really.
2v2 seems a lot easier to easier to watch if you watch a player stream rather than a caster, because with a player stream you can actually get the comms.
Exactly, and it's hard to understand who to watch in the right moments a lot of the time. It was like when Sacrifice first came out. That was an absolute mess.
Yeah.
Try and cast, but it was super fun to play.
If you want to cast like Sacrifice, or if you want to like make spectator feature, what spectator features would you even add to a game like Sacrifice or 2v2?
I don't think there's many features beyond like UI enhancements, like tracking different timings and positions that you can add. Like a mini map would be good. Maybe for Sacrifice, something tracking the ball in that position would be good. Otherwise, it's just having two very well-trained observers that understand what they're watching and can choose the right people. I think when we cast it, it was literally just on auto-follow.
And that is awful, man. That is awful for TDM games or Sacrifice, because the soldier, like the cam just switches every half a second. It's pointless.
When they're rushing the point, 3 or 4 people die, and you're just bouncing around the map, and you have no idea what's going on.
And I'm trying to stream 2v2. I just say, okay, let's just stick on one player for 30 seconds, and then if someone has stack, we'll switch onto them, but no auto-follower, please. That makes it really hard to make a show out of it, basically.
I mean, when we were broadcasting, it was production, right? So we didn't have a choice. We couldn't control it. But I agree. I think it's better just to choose a storyline, and also the casters know what we're watching, so we can actually choose better. We know who's going to be in a better position to do something and think ahead.
Okay, now I'm going to show the amazing clip of us playing 2v2 together, so people can suffer with me.
I mean, I was carrying you anyway, so...
You were carrying me. It's funny that you would think that. Okay, this was so long ago.
This must have been, yeah.
Let me check the date, actually. 11 years ago, in 2012.
Jesus.
Look, you are carrying, but I'm the one with stack. Now I'm whispering because I lived with my parents and it was late.
Oh, this is...
Look at my stack, man. Look at you carrying me.
How slow does your sense look?
I remember being so mad at this moment. Didn't.
I'm sure we still won.
Yeah, surely. But yeah, this moment's gonna make me hate you for life.
I mean, that's actually fine.
Getting telefrag as 200 in TDM. It's almost impossible to get 200 in TDM with the quad of all things. In Quake Champions, it wouldn't be that much of a problem because I would just drop the quad and you'd get it. But in Quake Live for me in TDM, I never played much 2v2 TDM, but the level of it was so much higher than 2v2.
Yeah.
Than 2v2 in Quake Champions.
4v4 was insane.
Like even in 4v4, it would be only in a couple of maps could you rush the same way you do in like Quake Champions, basically.
Yeah, 4v4 was very positional based. Like,
Yeah.
we had very individual strategies for each of us per map. So it definitely wasn't just a turn up and wing it. Like we had a clear, obviously, game plan, and even though we didn't really practice, we had enough knowledge to understand and read each other to make the right decisions. The only time we'd ever rush is on the power up. Even around items, it wouldn't be worth sacrificing position a lot of the times.
Unless you're playing the M20. Unlike Eden Fortress, then yeah, that map is a
well,
cess.
that's why like Ice Climbers and all those guys, they love the M20 because they just want to fight.
And that works really well in Quake Champions because, like in the machine gun, for instance, starting machine gun in Quake Champions does 9 damage. 9 damage. In Quake Live, the starting machine does 5, but in TDM it does 4. Because even 5 in TDM in Quake Live, we found it to be too much, so we had to change it to 4. It's over double in Quake Champions. And then in Quake Champions, you also have different movements which make the game faster, and abilities which allow to get close or do a burst of damage, and overall starting stacks are higher, which make overall stacks higher. Because in Quake Live you spawn 125.0, in Quake Champions you spawn 125.50. So a lot of differences.
And the items aren't as impactful in 2v2 in Quake Champions. It's still important, but not like in Quake Live, where, as you say, you could never even get a full stack. And if you did, you would basically shut out the map for minutes.
Hey, even with a weapon, if you had rail in Quake Live, you would just give your position, delegate your position to someone else, and you would just try to rail people for a good while. And if you drop a weapon to an enemy, you would get scolded by your teammates. If you drop a rocket or an LG or a rail, you get scolded by your teammates. It was really common practice to just switch to shotgun or MG before you die. In Quake Champions, it doesn't happen. Weapon respawn time is 5 seconds.
No, it's super stressful. I do miss it, but at least Quake Champions is 2v2 is fun to play because of everything you said. It allows you to play aggressive, allows you to actually play a more mechanical game, and because of the 50 frag limit, you can't be that reckless either.
Yeah, games start going a bit slower once you reach like the 40, and there's since you can drop the power up, I don't know what I think about that, being able to drop the power up, because if you're playing versus a quad in Quake Live, if you kill the quad, that's it, quad's gone. But in Quake Champions, even if you kill the quad, if the other teammate gets the quad, then you're still kind of screwed. I don't know what I find about dropping power-ups, because in CTF it was a thing, right? You could drop the power-up.
Yeah, CTF you could drop it. You have to kill yourself, but you can drop it,
Yeah, but in TDM, no. Oh, speaking about that, I just realized that we also had a very interesting mechanic in Quake Live. We could drop weapons. That was big. That was really big, being able to drop weapons.
In Quake Live, right?
Yeah. In Quake Champions.
I remember I didn't have one. I didn't have that bound for the longest time, and I used to get shouted at all the time.
Yep. It's important, man.
But as a dual player, you didn't need it, and my keybinds, I didn't have enough space.
What do you mean as a dual player you didn't need it? Do you know how many times I would play versus Demon and just drop weapons in the middle of a fight because he had the auto pickup and he had the scrolling wheel to change weapons? He would screw him over so bad.
That's actually hilarious. Did you really do that?
Yeah. Look, in 2011, 2012, I was a nerd, right? I was actually practicing. I was a nerd. I knew every bind that every player had for weapons.
I used to have scrolling until like 2007 as well. I used to scroll switch, and I used to have I used to have a macro that had different binds for each weapon through each scroll.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Oh, but you also played on arrow keys, right? I remember that.
Yes. Yeah, I used arrow keys.
Ugh, just complete.
But not even the normal way you should use arrow keys, where you'd have 3 fingers, like you use WSD. I only use 2 fingers.
Yeah, in Quake 2 as well. Rob's saying that was also the way to get weapons to your teammates, as the replay time for weapons was so long. I think in Quake 2 it was also like 30 seconds. And you could also drop ammo in Quake 2. That was fun.
I didn't know that. I didn't play Quake 2 competitively.
I'd never played Quake 2. I only played Quake 2 Jump, but I remember watching a bit of Quake 2. So I remember you could drop ammo. That was also really interesting. Out of all the Quakes, which one do you prefer?
I mean, for me, it's Quake Live.
Why?
It's the one because it's the one I have spent the most time on and have the fondest memory for. So
Why do you think Quake Live never made it big or bigger?
Because it was a stopgap game. They never had any internal. I think that's the problem. Bethesda just never had the resource or care to, or it was id back then, right? To give Quake. So they just always left it to be itself.
Like gameplay wise, the game was, we usually call it perfect, right? Gameplay wise, it was pretty much perfect, but then there was like a very big lack of marketing and focus on anything like that.
Yeah, this is the weird thing about esports. As I said in one of the earlier questions, is games have to serve multiple audiences. So unless you're going to create a game like Quake to be specifically for an esport, it's always going to be a bit of a hybrid, a bit of a mess. That's why Quake Champions was a bit of a mess, because it tried to be competitive, but it also tried to cater for new players, and that's why a lot of it just felt, particularly in the early versions, very just unbalanced, and yeah, it didn't feel competitive at all. And Quake Live was competitive, but didn't have any funding to make it bigger than it was. It almost came around 10 years too early.
I remember when Quake Champions was coming out, a lot of the videos, promotional videos, contradicted themselves. Because in one video they would say this is a hardcore game, and in the second video they say a little Jimmy can play, and the second video it was something else.
So unless you're going to focus on one particular audience, you're always going to just underserve everybody. It's just the nature of any product.
They should have hired you for the marketing, man. Would you consider doing like a job like that for games?
What, advising on how to build them?
Like senior marketing manager or whatever for a game that you would like a Quake series or something. Or an FPS.
Obviously, I guess it depends on how much they're actually going to give that role to do, and that's the problem with unfortunately with John's role, is that he's split across so many things. He doesn't just do Quake, and so he never had actually the time or budget because the company didn't really want to push Quake. So he did the best that he could.
I think it is saying that even with that, they were still Bethesda was still putting a lot of money into Quake, a lot of money for us, right? For them, it was nothing. But yearly,
that's why you can't. Like, if you look how much the QPL cost, it probably would have been like $500K budget a year, right?
Yeah, that's insane.
Which is incredible.
But how much freedom do you think he had in deciding where that $500K was going per year?
It's a good question. I imagine they would have just signed off an esports structure whenever they initially signed it off, and he was just building around the QPL. So I can't answer that, but I would say they signed off basically how to run a budget to run esports.
Interesting. Because I imagine, even if we had 100K, which is a lot less, but if we had total freedom for 100K, it would be possible to keep Quake alive on 100K per year.
What do you mean? You mean run tournaments?
Yeah.
Depends if you want to run them online or offline. If you run everything online, yeah, easy.
Yeah, probably. And then maybe 1 or 2 LANs a year.
The LANs is where it obviously costs money, right? Because even just running something out of the PGL studio is going to cost you nearly 100K if you're going to do
it at a PGL studio then.
Or any offline studio, right? It's going to still cost you a lot.
What's the endpoint studio, man?
Even the endpoint studio is still going to cost you a lot, because you'll probably pay 20K in terms of rent for the venue. Then you're going to have another
5K. 5K per weekend.
Fine,
Easy.
Okay, so 5K per week, and then you've got the equipment. Then you've got the logistics for the players, which is going to be 20 to 30K. You've got the prize pool, which is going to be prize pool is probably going to be 25K, and then you've got the actual operations of running it itself, so maybe 10, 15K. So you're probably looking at 60, 70K at least.
I'm purposely exaggerating my part so that the chat understands that it costs a lot to just run stuff.
Yeah, anything offline just instantly costs shitloads of money. Just a fact.
Yeah, Sombra was saying that to run the KeenCon, because we call it KeenCon, but it's basically just Sombra putting up his own money to run these tournaments. And the 2 LANs, or the 3 LANs that he has done already, it costed 250K to him already.
Yeah, when we used to run them at Red Bull, right, we had the venue, but if we were going to run, let's say, a 3-day event, even at a skeleton crew, you're probably still looking at 10 to 20K in production crew. alone before you even think about player logistics and prize pool and any other operational costs that go into it. So mostly you're looking at a minimum like 30 to 40k without any sort of prize pool.
Do you think it's necessary because of that for games now, if they want to have an esports scene, for the esports scene to be ran basically by the company that has the game? Because back 10, 20 years ago...
that's what the World Cup's trying to do. They're trying to...
do it themselves.
Yeah, they're trying to consolidate it so they run it for everyone. If you look at Valve and Valve, they don't run anything. They
delegated it to like other companies.
Yeah. They don't even delegate it. Like they just have an open ecosystem, and because they're such big games, it's profitable for TOs to be in that space. Like Blast business is to run tournaments. They don't care where they run it. They just want to make money. And they chose CS because it was the biggest game where they could run events, and the Dota and CS are very good to run events because it's got the biggest viewership, got the biggest teams, they've got the biggest orgs, but you've also got open commercial rights, so you can sell the rights to things like betting, and that's why betting is so big in places like.
Do you think betting
CS.
made CS go big?
Yeah, basically it was betting.
Because I remember, I don't know if you were around. I mean, you were. It was like 2011 when CS:GO was coming out, right? And a lot of like the dual pros, we got like, I think it was Sturmy was like in contact with orgs like SK and stuff.
Yeah.
And they were offering like us dual pros to make a CS team, to live in Germany for 6 months up to a year, and to try to go pro in CS. But we all said no, because CS had no money at the time, and Quake in 2011 actually had 4 major lands a year. And fast forward 2 years later, CS Cologne just come out, and CSGO has like 300k a year, and Quake only has 1 DreamHack and 1 QuakeCon.
Yep. No, skin trading and betting were the two big things that really boomed CS. I mean, it already had the biggest player base, but those things drove a lot more money into it.
But yeah, it's like Blizzard, for instance, I think they run their own tournaments, right, with the Overwatch League, which
not anymore. But
not anymore now.
No, but they tried.
I don't know what I think
Riot
about
are trying to get rid of it. I mean, all of the franchise leagues were around that like 2015 era when a lot of money from American sports teams were coming in, and they were trying to copy the franchising model. Overwatch League, kind of the Riot franchising, then Call of Duty League, and all of them now are reverting because it's not profitable. Like you don't make money as an esports org, you just don't. And so why would you pay such significant sums to be in these leagues that aren't profitable?
I'm glad that it isn't profitable, because the way I see it, it wasn't healthy for esports either. Because franchise leagues kind of go against what I see as the purity of esports, right? Like,
yeah, you need a degree of security. Like, so you need a model where there is almost guaranteed competitive terms for you as a team, because otherwise you're going to get otherwise you're just going to get thousands of little teams. There's never going to be a consolidation of the money in esports, and it's not going to grow. So you need a degree of security, because otherwise, to take a team like OG, how are we meant to sell to partners if we can't tell them what events we're going to be in, how much media they're going to get from their investment, all of these kind of basic KPIs that they need to know. So that's why structures like Blast are really interesting, because they give us a buy into their system, which gives us a level of guaranteed exposure in the events. We know what events we're going to be playing in and things like that. We obviously don't know how we're going to do. We know what events we're in, and then we have a foundation to sell from. And then because they've also then got a guaranteed uptake, they know what they're selling because they know what teams are involved, etc. They can then create a more profitable structure and share the revenue with us. So it's a more efficient system than that we get money from them, but we get guaranteed exposure, etc.
It's not a franchise, but it's not completely open. It's something in between.
And that's what the EWC is trying to do, the Esports World Cup, in that they've got these member teams that will be a part of the core tournament structures, but they'll also have open qualification. So they'll always have a pathway to go to the World Cup.
I think open qualifications are a must for esports.
That's what I think is the best, is having that hybrid. So having an open system, but with a level of guaranteed exposure for some teams.
Because in Overwatch League, for a very long time, for like the first 3-4 seasons, you could be the best team in the world, but it wouldn't matter unless you were in the Overwatch team,
Yeah.
in the Overwatch League. And it's that for me, I hate the franchise leagues because of that, but I'm glad we're now finally switching away to that, to a more hybrid model with more
Yeah.
open qualifications. Because
Franchise leagues were just kind of a VC bubble where everyone thought this thing was going to blow up in the next 2 or 3 years, and that
everyone wanted to be
these,
NBA.
yeah, exactly right. And these fees they were paying would be nothing for the amount of money they'll be making off of the back of it. And there was also lots of investors coming in who were willing to pay it.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a cash grab,
Did you play
particularly
Overwatch?
from Overwatch. Yeah, I played a lot. We were gonna start a team with Avik and me and you and
I don't remember.
yeah,
I remember starting a team with other Quakers like Demon, Garpy, and Deptor and stuff. And that lasted about 2 days because everyone wanted to
yeah.
be DPS and they were all terrible.
I played season one. And I think I got top 500. I think I got like 10 at one point, and then season two I just got bored, and then I've just played now and again, but nothing serious.
The really, like, what was I gonna say? About Overwatch, we were talking how it was at the start. Oh right, there were so many orcs in Overwatch at the start. Like every single T1 and T2 orc was in Overwatch. You had Liquid, Rogue, Misfits,
Yeah.
whatever. And then, as soon as Overwatch League came in, every single org was forced to drop the game. It killed esports as is,
Yep.
in the promise of a franchise NBA type league. And that for me was very anti-esports. So I'm glad we're going full circle now and to a more open-ended system.
No, I agree. I mean, the idea was kind of cool, but the way they did it was awful. The CDL was even worse. I don't know if you follow Call of Duty.
No.
That's even worse because they just gutted. So that Optic is the biggest Call of Duty team in the
Yeah.
world. And they just kind of removed them from Call of Duty because of the same thing. They made them rebrand into something bizarre. So there's actually a legal case that I think Optic have taken up against Activision because of it now, and have lost revenues. So they completely made a mess of that. And again, it's the same argument that they've been the heart of Call of Duty their whole life, and now they've just been prevented from being a part of Call of Duty because of the CDL.
That is so bizarre.
Hmm.
But when I started seeing Overwatch,
it creates.
go on.
I was going to say it creates a weird. I don't know if it's a philosophical discussion, but it's like how many people have built their lives around an IP they don't own. So like, again,
Yeah,
can any publisher turn around tomorrow and say, right, we're canceling any right for you to play our game, or we're canceling any right for your team to play our game, and suddenly, if like OG, if we got banned from Dota for whatever reason, or Dota turned around and said, right, no more esports, suddenly everyone that we employ we go out of business. Everyone we employ loses the job. Like, so they have a moral responsibility to create a proper ecosystem for us.
that's true. No, that is very true. Imagine CS, there's so many people that are employed in CS, and Evolve decides not to allow any more competitive CS. Everyone, so many people are just suddenly out of job. Speaking of Valve games, and sort of like Overwatch, every time I open like Steam charts, TF2 has so many players, but I've not once seen a TF2 tournament.
I've not met a TF2 player either.
Same. What's going on there?
I don't know. It's bizarre. I've always wanted to try TF2. I just never have. I think I actually tuned in to watch a TF2 tournament like 2 weeks ago, and it was kind of fun, but it was just only like 50 viewers. I have no idea what's going on with that game, but it looks fun.
I played a bit of TF2, and I can tell it's one of the most fun games I've ever played.
I hear that a lot. Yeah,
It's just a shame that that Valve never like competitively supported. But since you're saying that Valve never they just allowed other orgs to do tournaments for them. But I guess at the start they need to be the ones incentivizing it first. And
yeah,
for TF2 it never happened.
Because they do it for TI because they run the biggest event in the world. And they've obviously created the compendium, which creates the prize pool, which creates the attraction. And then for CS, they run the majors, right? They run 2 majors a year, so they have a hand in it, but they don't control it. They just never did it for TF2.
That's true. That is too bad. I think I've talked about almost everything that I wanted. It's very enlightening so far. What is your favorite LAN story?
My favorite
Your
land
favorite land story? You've
story.
been in so many lands right now. Like, if how many lands have you been? Like, it's just as a caster.
Even as a
How many
caster,
QuakeCons have you attended?
4 or 5 at least. Even the bio you showed me on esports thing, that's not everything I've ever been to. So he's missing some stuff. I don't actually know what my favorite land story is.
I know what my favorite land story is, with you at least. Do you remember in what was it in the UK, Leicester? Right, you were casting the regionals.
Or
You were casting the regionals there in for Sacrifice in EU, and I think it's probably the first time we met actually. Because I
in
think
London?
no, in Leicester.
Oh, in Leicester, yeah.
Leicester, whatever, man. I'm American.
Yes, you are.
I think that was probably the first time we met there. I remember because Deuce had like his supercar outside, and he was the first one with the wireless mouse or something. And you were casting something, but you were gonna cast the next game, or rather, you were on the analyst desk for a game. I think it was like Basie and Zed were gonna play, and we had time to go grab lunch before the game started, before you had to go in. So we went to McDonald's.
Oh, I remember driving for ages to find you, McDonald's. So we got it like 10 seconds before we went to be on air.
I remember tuning into the game because you had to analyze it. You were on the desk. You had to
I
analyze
was
the
watching
game.
it on my phone driving back
Yeah,
to me.
I was telling you, oh, just say this or that. It's C and Z and base. I'm sure it's gonna be how they play it. And I remember as soon as we get there, you haven't even had food yet. You went back in, you went up, and you said what I told you to say. And the other cast was like, oh wow, that is a really good point. That is why you're the analyst. We haven't even watched the game. You were 10 seconds away from losing your job because of McDonald's.
Yes, they were pissed at me. You would not eat anything except fucking McDonald's.
That was fun. And I think that was the first time we met.
I think it was,
Because we haven't met a lot of times, to be honest. We've known each other for so long, but we haven't met a lot of times. I think we've met like 2 or 3 times max.
Yeah, only really in the last couple of years, because Quake Live, I think you started after I stopped. So, I mean, I think my last tournament I did or casted was probably 2014 or 15. And then when I started at Red Bull, I really just stopped. I stopped everything for a couple of years until Quake Champions. So yeah, that 2 or 3 years I was out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't actually know what my favorite story is, if I'm honest with you. That's really boring of me. I remember I remember one of my first ever lands I went to, Dignitas forgot to book me a room, so I had to sleep. I had to sleep on Garpy's floor, and then when we went back, the StarCraft player had way too much to drink and managed to just ruin the room. So I ended up having to go and sleep on I think it was some fanatic StarCraft player's floor.
Was it Stefano?
This was after almost dying because they also forgot to book us a train. So we had to get this little propeller plane in the middle of winter in Sweden, in Jönköping. And I thought we were going to die because it was so turbulent. Yeah.
Ah, screw that.
From Stockholm to Jönköping. That was an awful trip. So that was the real dark days of esports, when you don't even get your own room booked because they forget about you.
You don't even get money to go anywhere.
No.
Ugh. Man, Quake Live had no money for anyone. When Quake Champions started, since I didn't play the first tournament, I was kind of bitter when I saw, oh my god, there's 1 million tournament and I'm not even playing in it. And I see a lot of people that literally just started playing and they're getting 5 or 10k.
Yeah.
Just for showing up at the tournament. And like, I played Quake Live. I have 10,000 hours in Quake Live. I wasn't top 4, but I got top 8s, top 16s in lands, and I never got any money for it. I never got any money for casting, and these people are getting so much money for casting and playing now. I was so bitter.
I didn't get paid for casting for like the last 4 years, because even the first tournaments we were casting, the DreamHacks, they were only streamed because the community turned up to stream it. I think it was like Level with like NVC and Trance and stuff. They used to stream it. And I used to cast because I was knocked out. So I just went up and started casting because there was no casters. It was just quiet otherwise.
I casted 2 lands in Quake Live, and I had to pay to go there.
Yeah. I think my first ever time I casted was like DreamHack 2008 or something. And I then had to cast on stage DreamHack with Sam Matthews, the CEO of Fnatic, because he was sponsoring he was sponsoring the tournament. It was 2 tournaments, and he was sponsoring one of them. And then he decided he wanted to cast it himself. That he was just
Wow.
battering on stage with me.
Nice.
He had no idea what he was
I
talking
mean, if you're
about.
putting the money for it, you can do whatever you want.
It was so weird though. But that was so funny. And I think I won like a motherboard there. But my
Nice.
prize was a freaking motherboard, which I left as well.
Man, that was fun days. And then, how do you compare that to like the first casting experience in Quake Champions?
Oh man, that was so good.
Are you guys still on NDA?
NDA? No.
Yeah.
Why?
Okay. How much are you guys getting for casting in Quake Champions?
I mean, a lot less than the first one. I think.
Okay, you can talk about the first one then.
I think the first one we were on like €1,000 a day.
1,000 euros a day. Oh, Rovkov.
Yeah.
We gotta go back in time to cast DreamHacks, man.
And then the final ones were something like €700 a day or 500, €600 a day.
That is still insane.
No, I mean it's nothing compared to other esports, but it's just kind of
Sure, but for Quake, that's insane.
Yeah, no, for the Quake it's good. Yeah, definitely.
Like I should have taken like Zoots and your advices 10 years ago, and they told me just cast, man. It's easier money than playing.
Are you gonna beat Rafa? No. All right, then become a caster.
Yeah,
that was kind of the
casting.
the
You get at least get paid the same as top 4 without doing anything. Basically, if you already know the game, you don't really have to do anything.
Yeah, true. But I mean, it is. I mean, it's really. I mean, it's really draining casting. I hated doing the home stuff, like having to sit at home in a hot room in front of lights for 12 hours. It was super draining. The studio stuff was better because at least then you're energized when you're around people. But trying to do it on your own at home and hype things up, it doesn't feel the same.
That reminds me of the Face It days. You know, the Cave It days.
In Milan, yeah.
In Milan, in the super hot basement with the dead flies behind everyone.
So hot. Cleans up.
Oh man,
it was so hot.
But
they were really good days.
What is like? I heard Face It sold their stuff to something. Like
they got bought up by EFG.
Yeah, but now they merged with ESL and they got bought out, right?
They got bought by the Saudi company. I remember the name, but they're owned by the Saudi company, which basically means they're part of the Esports World Cup stuff.
But I saw that Nick, like the CEO of Face It, is still there. Like
all
he's
the
still in charge.
Are still there. Yeah.
Not all of them. I think Roald left.
Yeah, and obviously, but I mean, like the key people are still there. So Face It is still its own company within the EFG group, I believe. So like he still runs the platform division and things like that. But then there's a CEO of ESL and kind of wider team.
That is crazy because to think they started like in Milan in a little cave, and they already started out like I don't think they had any profits for like the first 5 years, and they were just putting money into it and believing in it.
Just working with us to build Quake tournaments to make sure that they had constant users coming in. It was super smart. Like picking Quake as a game because it was super engaged, strong player base. There was no tournaments. They realized they could just own Quake and run tournaments basically for free to build their platform.
Yeah, they got a lot of testing done because of that.
Exactly.
Everyone they boosted their production.
All of us were just testers, running the tournaments, getting people on the platform. We were just testers.
Yep, suffering through the hot streams of Milan.
Exactly, but look at it now, completely worth it.
Yeah, I think the hardest one I've ever had to cast was probably one of the KeenCons, because KeenCons, it's first of all, you've seen the LANs, right? You've seen a couple of the streams at least from the LANs of KeenCon. It's a really professional setup. It's for me, it's not the most well suited for me, but thankfully I have usually Lethal next to me, who's like the most professional. Like I think Lethal is like the standard ESL professional caster, right?
Yeah.
And the first one that I did was actually just on a small Spanish LAN, so it wasn't super professional. But then we did that one in Barcelona, and they gave us the suits and everything, and the production was insane. You got to come down to Barcelona for the next one, even if just to see.
I'm not invited.
I'm inviting you now. You can come.
When is it?
Good question. I think it's in November. Maybe it's in November.
Then I will see you in November.
Like the studio they have is amazing. And when we casted, they gave me like a PDF with like 100 something pages of lines to memorize, like a script, you know.
Why?
Like I don't know. It was like the running order of stuff and sort of a script to follow. I don't think I've ever read it, but Lethal read the whole thing and he memorized everything.
Jesus.
So he was like thanking the sponsors and doing everything. I couldn't do what he does. Like casting is one thing, but then hosting a show is so much more pressure on you.
Yeah, and I've hosted a few stuff before. You need a lot of preparation and you've got to be tuned in all the time. As you say, when you're casting and analyzing, it's easy just to focus on what you need to think about, but hosting's, you've got to be on the ball.
Yeah, it takes a whole different level of brain to use. So I have a lot of respect for Lethal to be able to do that properly. It's incredible.
No, definitely. And you're hosting now, doing a good job.
I wouldn't say this is hosting. I think the hardest part of this is the production, which I'm not really doing. I just have the overlays there and that's it.
Fair enough.
To chat, we will wrap this up soon. So if anyone has any questions for the almighty ZSX, feel free to say something. Yeah, Face, we had like 2 scripts, each like 50 pages long. It was fun. Okay, it's November 1 to 3rd.
All right. I don't think there's any. I'll let you know. I'm hopefully going to be able to be there. I know there is a Dota tournament beginning in November in Malaysia, so I have to see. Yes, Face.
Rooting for Dan at OG. Speaking of OG, you're coming to Portugal next week, right? Or like
yes,
in 2 weeks?
A week today. No, a week yesterday.
Okay, so you're buying me dinner?
Sure.
Sure. Where am I going to sleep, Elsa?
I mean, that's up to you to decide.
Because if I go there, I can't return in the same day. Because if I go there, it's like the next bus is on the day after. Have you considered growing up? Question for ZSX. Have you seen him? If that was a question for me, I get it. But have you seen him?
No, I am very immature, so it's a fair question. The answer is definitely not. Oh, thank you, Sombra.
I don't think casters are decided yet. Usually casters are like me and Lethal. But I was saying that we should have another caster this year as well. Because it's really draining to just be 2 casters on their own for like 12 hours a day.
It is. So
I told them to either talk to you or Zoot.
I'm down.
If Zoot is down too, let's get 4 casters, man.
I'll ask Zoot.
Looking for someone better than Insp Eats Cheap. I am. It's a couple of McDonald's and I'm happy.
What do I do as a job? I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at OG Esports. Why should anyone take this tournament seriously? There isn't a tournament.
We're not talking about a tournament right now. But yeah, that was a fun talk. Talked about a lot of things. QuakeCon announcement, new Doom, thoughts about QPL, about your career, some funny LAN stories, Esports World Cup, and I think that is all.
And I made it on time.
You made it sort of on time. You made it sort of on time, I'll give you that.
I enjoyed making you panic.
Yeah. It's very hard to make me panic, but you managed it. But yeah, thank you for stopping by, Dan. I'll see you next week. And thank you guys for being here with us today. See you guys next week. We'll be here next week. I don't know who I'm going to invite next week. I was thinking of inviting Redcon and Nighthawk. I still have to ask them if they can be here, but you'll get some more updates on Twitter as the week goes by. But see you guys next week again.